Okay, good morning to each and every one of you. I'm joined today by Doug Murray with Road Builders and Rick Wagner with Lincoln Tool and Design and Mike DeCall, an old colleague, now with several organizations, which I will mention in time. I don't know about you guys, but this atmosphere beats the heck out of the mayor's conference room, don't you think? Great change. And we're here, of course, because this is what the press conference is about. At City Hall, as you all know, it's our duty to protect the health and the welfare and the safety of our citizens. And when a segment of our community has its very well-being threatened for lack of fundamental infrastructure, they depend on the mayor and the city council to find an immediate solution. Today, here in this industrial area, 56th and Flesher Avenue, we're being called upon to fulfill that duty. We're being called upon to protect property. We're being called upon to protect the jobs of those who work here. We're being called upon to fulfill the most obvious of our responsibilities, the safety and security of our citizens. Almost every year, and sometimes more than once a year, the businesses in this industrial area must cease their regular commerce and focus instead on mitigating flood damage to their businesses. Every time the area receives 2 or 3 inches of rain, the Salt Creek contributory, which you saw just outside the building, overflows, pushing sometimes as much as a foot or 2 of standing water into their businesses. Imagine being a business owner with the responsibility of providing for your employees. Imagine having to place metal paneling on the bottom of your inside walls to avoid having to rip out drywall the next time it floods. And it does flood, time and again. Imagine being unable to use the bottom drawers of your offices, or having to put your supply shelves on stilts. Imagine having to rally weary employees twice a year to clean up yet another flood that sometimes even destroys some of their personal items. Imagine how hard it would be in the end to concentrate on economic growth when you spend some weeks of your year and considerable expense simply trying to prevent mold damage. The problem is that this creek contributory just outside the building cannot move water effectively. It is overgrown due to stream bank failures and stream banks that are entirely too steep now to maintain. This industrial park met the stormwater requirements when it was built, but our stormwater management system has grown dramatically and changed dramatically since then, and the stormwater infrastructure in this area of town is simply no longer adequate to adequately protect the businesses. The solution is expensive. It will cost an estimated $3.2 million to fix this area and provide these businesses with the stormwater protection that will reduce the flooding, a protection that most of us take for granted. The good news is that over 85% of the project can be solved with matching funds from the federal government and the Natural Resource District. Approximately the final $400,000 would then be the responsibility of the city. So you see, there are partners available to us if the city can provide its share of the funding. Fixing this problem and many other stormwater problems across the community is the goal of the stormwater bond issue the City Council will vote on this coming Monday. The $9.8 million bond is an important community investment in 17 areas of the city. passage of the bond issue protects homes and businesses like these from stormwater runoff and flood damage, and it will improve water quality and repair failing stream banks, and it will prevent additional erosion. The bond issue would also be funding for best management practice projects around the city, floodplain and flood-prone area engineering and projects, street drainage projects, and preliminary engineering and projects for watershed and basin management plans. The proposal would also allow us to prepare for the increased stormwater problems caused by the arrival of the emerald ash borer. The insect has destroyed ash trees across the eastern United States and may be in Lincoln already, threatening the 14,000 public ash trees in Lincoln that play a big role in stormwater management. A single tree can absorb 100 gallons of rainwater. Losing thousands of trees increases the flooding threat. The stormwater bond is our commitment as a community to our neighbors. No home or business in Lincoln should face the consequences of being faced by the employees in this particular industrial area. By placing this issue on the ballot, Lincoln voters can decide for themselves whether or not to devote about $6 per house a year to keep themselves and their neighbors safe and their water clean. So I am joined by two businessmen today, Doug Murray of Road Builders and Rick Wagner of Lincoln Tool and Design, just south of here. Today also, as I mentioned, Mike DeKalb is with us. Mike is served on the planning, worked in the planning department of the city for many years, is now on the board of the Lower Platte South NRD, and as mentioned, he's now volunteering his time in a leadership position with the University Place Area Neighborhood Association, one of the sections of town that would benefit from the stormwater bond issue. And we asked them to come today and talk about the pieces of the bond issue that affect them very directly. And I don't know who wants to start. Doug, do you want to speak first?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Sure. So when Road Builders moved here 15 years ago, we had great optimism that this was the location that would be best suited for our business. The accessibility to the interstate, the frontage was exactly what we were looking for. We had no idea that 15 years later we would be in the position we're in now, where we've had flooding threats every year, water in our building many years, sometimes twice a year. The health of our business and the health of our employees jeopardized, constant fear of a rain event. It's really put a dramatic effect on our business, and again the morale and of course our bottom line. So it not only affects us, but our neighbors. All of our neighbors are under the same have the same problems. The public, our customers, our suppliers. Really, it's more than just the tools that get ruined and the parts that need to be thrown away, and the computers and the files that you lose. It's these guys. It's their safety, and it's their lives, and it's their jobs, and the urgency just can't be overstated. How quickly we need to move on this, and everyone in the community is affected by this negatively. So As the mayor said, I think the bond is probably the way to go to get this funded. Whatever means they need to take, we've got to have this creek so that it will drain faster. It's imperative we do it now. Rick?
Thank you. Rick?
We first started working on this with Ben Higgins from Wastewater Management, I think in 2005, when we first started getting these floods. And since then, we get, as I said, flooded, you know, most years and sometimes twice a year. You know, it disrupts business, becomes somewhat demoralizing to your employees to have to call them up and say, bring your overshoes and old clothes today because you're going to be moving file cabinets and tearing out carpet instead of sitting at your computers. And so, you know, we would really like to see something move forward on this and enable us to just operate like an ordinary business, not have to have that hanging over our heads. The bond issue that they're putting forward right now presents a good opportunity to achieve this, and the federal funds that supposedly are available make it a good time to jump out there and grab those and put the money in from the city that they need to make that all happen. So hopefully we can move this forward and finally get some resolution to the problems. Thanks.
Thank you. Mike?
Good morning, everybody. I'd like to kind of bring 2 points of view to you. One is I am past president and current board member of University Place Neighborhood Organization, and we've got over 200 homes and businesses in the floodplain. That increases costs for everybody. You can imagine the impact of paying those bills every year for floodplain insurance. And it's the NRD, the Corps of Engineers, the City of Lincoln, and everybody else that comes in and helps us, and we're working with to resolve that issue. On the other side, I am the board member for District 3 of the Lower Platte South NRD. That's this district. This is my district. And we assist communities in doing help and floodplain remediation and taking care of problems like this. In fact, this particular project, to my understanding, has been approved by Lower Platte South NRD years ago. It's in our budget. It's ready to go. The city needs its matching money. And for the last 25 years, this has been the mechanism as a cycle of bond issues to provide the money in the city level to match other local governments and federal government money to repair those things. So I am totally in support of the bond issue, and it'll help a lot of people.
Thank you all very much for telling your stories, because that's what it's all about. So with that, we'll open it up to questions. We're talking back and forth with City Council, and as any good City Council would want to do, they're asking a lot of questions and making some suggestions. But we feel like we're making a lot of progress with them, and that we're going to come to a very good resolution to it, working back and forth with them. Everybody's in good spirit. I think everybody recognizes that some things need to be done here, and we may be talking about things around the edges, but fundamentally we think it's going to get done.
This comes up every couple of years. Is there any long-term plan about how much ought to be on the property tax roll that relates to stormwater, or do you just every 2 years add more?
What was the middle part of your question, Nancy?
Is there any long-term plan or any target that you'll use, just 3 cents of the levy for stormwater long-term, or do you just every 2 to 3 years add 7 to 10 cents?
Yeah, there are deeper issues here, and the history of this matter is known to you in part, having covered the legislature over a large number of years, and you're well aware that the whole idea of having a stormwater utility system similar to what we do with water and sewer and electricity is the way that many, many cities in this country handle it. And then there's a year in, year out budget, which is part of the regular budget cycle for both operating and capital expenditures in the stormwater area. That's a discussion that's been ongoing for a number of years, but until that situation can be resolved, we are counting upon and depending upon these bond issues to do what we need to be doing year in and year out in the area of stormwater. So this is not like a once-in-a-lifetime bond issue for this or for that. This is the regular business of the city that needs to get done, and it needs to get done with bond issues at this point in time in our history. These people cannot wait forever for us to resolve the utility system controversy. So we need to move ahead with the bond issues until we have a better situation.
Do you have any idea how much businesses would be saving in flood repair annually with these improvements?
Well, we don't have specific information. Well, maybe we do. Let me call Ben up here. Ben Higgins is our stormwater management division of the Public Works Department, and he may have some good information on that.
Good morning. My name is Ben Higgins with Public Works. We don't know how much each individual business does, but we did a study on it, and there is a definite positive cost-benefit ratio on this. Anytime you go to get FEMA funding, you have to have a positive cost-benefit ratio. And I'm just going from memory here, but I think it's a 1.7 cost-benefit ratio on that. So, thank you.
Which means
do you
what?
have any information from your businesses on what you spend a year to fix flooding?
Well, for us, it's in
Step-
range.
Right.
For us, it's in range of 25,000 every time we get a flood, and that's just in repairing the damage it's done. That's not in lost time or other areas that you really can't put a firm number to. So, but 25,000 is a pretty close number for what we submit for our insurance company, and as a result, our insurance rates probably go up as well.
So for us, the hard number's between $25,000 and $50,000 per occurrence, and that's just to the facility. That can go up dramatically with depend on how many parts that we lose, what the value of those parts are. One machine to line bore equipment can be $50,000. If we don't have enough notice that there's a storm coming, we can't pay our employees overtime to stay late, and we put all of our parts and tools and computers and everything up off the ground. Well, that cost even goes up further from there. So one tool can be tens of thousands of dollars in our business, and we try to do our best. But sometimes if the rain comes over the weekend or at night, which is what has happened in a lot of cases, it's hard to prevent.
Okay, additional questions?
Lynn Johnson is also here from Parks and Rec, if anybody has questions about the Emerald Ash.
All right, very good. Thank you very much for coming out.